but no Dolphins showed up. What happened?
I think the Dolphins were sitting on their 1-0 win in the joint practices, Mike. I think that they were happy with Wednesday, and they're like, let's just take Thursday off.
Right.
Now, apparently they had a stomach virus going on, and they were like, we're going to sit this one out. And the Eagles were probably like, thank you for sitting this one out.
Oh, you think the Eagle – don't these teams like these joint practices? Isn't this something they want to do?
I just meant I don't think the Eagles wanted to have their own stomach bug going around, so they've had a pretty nice training camp. And once they heard about the Dolphins issues, I'm sure that they were a little bit happy to say, all right, if you want to take this off, that's fine,
Well, one of the things, I see that they're not doing this. Now, Saturday they're going to play the game. I guess there has been some discussion that if they're not feeling better by them, they might not play the game. But I'll ask you, Jeff, are we at the point where these teams don't even want to play the preseason games anymore? Like, if you ask these two teams, do you want to play Saturday, would they both just say, nah, not really?
Mike, I still think coaches like real game snap evaluations. Coaches do. I really think they do, especially when it comes to guys jockeying for certain backup spots or the last spots on a. I think they appreciate that a preseason game is a little bit different than a practice in that regard. Not that now, if they did away with it, would the coaches get mad? No, probably not. But I do think that there's an element of the preseason game that they can appreciate. Although I would also have told you that most coaches I've ever spoken to want more practice, not less practice. And yet we're seeing a trend as far as practice time in training camp. But I do think that they value the snaps and the evaluation part of these preseason games.
Does them not having this joint practice today, Jeff, impact their plan for Saturday?
I'm sorry, one more time? I'm sorry, I'm at the airport, so it might be a little congested here.
Does the fact that they didn't have the joint practice today impact their plan for Saturday at all?
If you look at the quarterback situation, you got Reed Sinnett, you got Carson Strong. I think they want to see a little bit more of both. They obviously have a difficult decision to make as to how many quarterbacks they want to keep. And we've talked about why would you keep two quarterbacks on the practice squad? That's very unusual too. So I imagine that there's something at stake here that this preseason game can help as far as the decision-making process goes.
Yeah, I saw today, speaking of the quarterbacks, Nick Sirianni made this comment, this is the best I've ever seen Jalen Hurts, and that, that kind of raised some eyebrows. How did you kind of take the context of what he's saying there? Are we looking at a Jalen Hurts that is really progressing, further along than he was from last year, or is this something that you take a further look at?
Certainly an interesting comment. Usually if a coach is going to talk about how great a quarterback or an offense was and a ton of touchdown play, they're bringing here their coverages and scheme to have not been all over, able to get read one, read two, and beyond quicker. That it was development. So from that angle, from the area and dispersed to his targets, that's where Nick Sirianni was saying. I interpreted that he's seen a great amount of growth from Jalen in yesterday's practice.
Yeah, and I know you take a look at Devonta Smith. He spoke to the media today, and obviously he's going to be more of a 1A or number 2 guy, and having A.J. Brown. You just wonder how much having more trust and faith in his receivers elevates his play on the field, and how much that's kind of coming out, and that the coach is seeing that as well. Hey, more weapons, more confidence.
Yeah, I think that it's more the comfort of the offense that he's running the same offense, same coordinators, same language. A lot's been made about the fact that he really hasn't had the same coordinator for more than 2 years in a row, or for 2 years in a row since college. So now he's got familiarity with the scheme, the coaching. There is new personnel, but not. There's also Devontae Smith, like you said, and Quez Watkins, and the running backs. A.J. Brown has probably helped that comfort level too. So I think it's a little bit of both. Today A.J. Brown didn't practice. It was a rest day, and I don't know. I guess the irony of Nick Sirianni coming out today and talking about how great yesterday's practice was that today's practice was awful. It was not a very good practice.
Well,
today.
I mean, how much was that? They probably had planned to do stuff with the Dolphins and then had to basically say, all right, let's come up with a whole different game plan for the day.
You know what? That's fair. Well, I don't know if the game plan was different. I sort of speculated yesterday that because they basically did move the ball drill yesterday against the Dolphins, meaning, it's not situational. It's almost like you got the full field. We're going to run our offense here. And I had a feeling that today was going to be the day where it was a more scripted situational format, red zone, third down, maybe goal line. And today today was all red zone, a little bit extended. At one point, the ball's at 25 going in, but mostly 25, 20, and then 10 and goal line. So it was to me what they probably intended to do. Now, you're right. The fact that the Dolphins weren't on the other side, I'm sure there was a little bit of a change in mentality from that standpoint. There's no doubt about it. But, we can't sit here and, like yesterday, the Dolphins had what most people viewed as a better practice. And, Tua even mentioned, among others, that, the Eagles have play Sunday, go back to Philly Monday, come to Miami Tuesday, and then get ready to practice in 100 degrees on Wednesday. That's a lot in a 3-day span. You got 3 different cities there. And that was sort of a logical excuse for why maybe Miami would have been a little step ahead yesterday. But so if we say today, well, they were expecting to play the Dolphins, it's like, I don't want to just keep laying excuses on it. To me, they had a bad offensive practice today. And this deep into training camp, you'd rather not see that.
Yeah,
especially with the 3 interceptions.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And this is a team that obviously has that added firepower with A.J. Brown out there. So you're hoping that the quarterback takes that step by giving him more and saying, hey, it seems that the organization, I mean, everybody wants their quarterback to succeed, but I feel like the Eagles really want Hurts to be their guy, right? I mean, do you get that sense?
I mean, I get the sense, yes, of course. They want him to be the guy. They've got 2 first-round picks next year that they wouldn't have to use on a quarterback or use to package and trade up for a quarterback. And in a sense, I mean, I don't know that they would ever admit this, but it would sort of validate the idea that you could draft a quarterback in the 2nd round when you already have a quarterback on a huge contract like they did. They took a lot of criticism for that. So Hurts working out would sort of validate that, I think, even though they always drafted him to be a backup. But yeah, I just think it makes it easier if you have a great story like that,
Well,
why not? Everybody wants a franchise quarterback.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I say that it's like sometimes you have a guy and you're like, going in that this is just a bridge guy or a stopgap guy. Do you feel that the Eagles are viewing him as that, or that they're viewing him as more? Because I know this contract situation is going to start coming up soon.
Funny when you asked that question, you said, do you feel the Eagles, they're not a monolith. So I imagine just in my conversations that there are some people who do believe ultimately it'll be a bridge or a stopgap, although they're hoping that it's not. And then there are people that are more steeped in their belief, more optimistic that he will be the franchise quarterback of the future.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, when you look at franchise quarterback, Jeff, a lot of time that is, is that monetary, right? That's monetary.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Views you, how the team views you is how much money they're willing to invest in you.
Of course. And obviously that will be that's why it's like an 8 or a 9, maybe even a 10-win season with a first-round loss would be very tricky for the Eagles, because then you're at the end of the year and it's 3 years in and you got to make a decision on what you want to do with Jalen Hurts monetarily. Do you give him the extension? Do you not? Do you try to make him play it out one more year? Does he cooperate with that? I mean, there's just like Pandora's box of questions that will be raised if this isn't either a very successful year and with some playoff wins or some really good quarterback play, or the other way around, it's a terrible year, bad quarterback play, and then now the question's answered for you.
Would you envision? Somebody asked me this the other day. I thought it was an interesting question to kind of think about. But would you envision how long of a leash do you envision that he has?
Oh, I think it'd be quite. I mean, think of it. If they start off, for that question, we'll go with devil's advocate. If they start off 1-4. They're not going to. I can't imagine they're going to pull him after 5 games and not let him at least try to, fight and claw his way back. But maybe after 13 games, if they're,
I look
4
at it
and 9.
the way that I kind of saw the question asked to me, Jeff, as I, wasn't prepared for the question, but as I kind of talked my way through it, it would almost be like Wentz. Like, you almost had to be so bad that they had to sit you because they wanted Wentz to succeed. He was just so bad that they had to sit him. I almost feel the same here. Like, they want Hurts to succeed, so he's going to almost have to be that bad for them to go to Minshew in any spot. But this is a team that has expectations, and they can't have him hold him back. I don't think he will, but that's why I say, what is the leash?
It's a great question. I mean, when you think about it, I don't know that there's a long-term upside to going to Minshew, even if Jalen Hurts is struggling, because, I don't believe that they see Gardner Minshew as anything other than a high-end backup. So you're just replacing someone who might be a high-end backup with another one. That doesn't get you to where you ultimately want to be. And so, again, if Hurts struggles from the gate, I think they're going to let him try to figure it out and see what he can do. And maybe if he gets into a rut, see if he can respond, maybe change up some things offensively. And whether or not that works, and by the end of the year, they can make the decision about whether or not they feel like they found something that can work for them, or they just have to completely move on. But the only thing I could tell you, Mike, is that they do like to win, like many teams. And if the quarterback is struggling, but they're somehow, like after 12 games, they're 6-6, or they're 7-7 after 14, and they feel like a move to Minshew is necessary because it might help them make the playoffs,
right.
And maybe that increases Minshew's trade value, things like that. I guess you could see it coming if they felt like there's just nothing more they can do to get Jalen Hurts to a higher level.
Right. This wouldn't be a long-term, big-picture move. This is just, we envision making the playoffs this year. We're about right around 500. We still have a shot to get to the playoffs, but you've been so bad, we have to do something. I mean, that's almost what happened with the Eagles that year. He was just so bad, they couldn't keep putting him out there. I don't think they were close to making the playoffs, though, although that NFC East was probably so bad that they probably did still have a shot.
Yeah, but nobody really thought. I mean, so what? So you can go and lose by 80 in the first round the way they were playing? Like, yeah, that season was down the tubes really, really quickly.
Painful.
There was no reason to worry about pulling Carson at that point.
It was probably one of the most painful seasons, and it kind of shows you where they are now. That 2 seasons ago they went through such a painful experience, and now we're so intrigued by what this team has going out there. Now Saturday, guys like Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, do we see them again?
Yeah, I would think so, Mike. I mean, I thought there was a lot said there, well, not in words, but in actions, by T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White not playing the second preseason game. To me, that said those are the starters. Mm-hmm. They're the starters. T.J. Edwards has earned it. He had a great camp. So Nakobe Dean may have the name, he may have the acumen as far as the pedigree and the resume, but he's not a starting linebacker for the Eagles at this moment. And if you're not a starter, hey, Quez Watkins, he's a slot receiver, which is sort of just a starter in this game in this league now. You're going to play most of the snaps when you're the slot receiver. He played Sunday in that preseason game. So you're going to see good backups and guys who are not considered the cream of the crop play. Sure.
Okay, real quick, because Adam brought this up yesterday, and it's something that, is Rieger the clear-cut return man on this team? Like, do they have anybody else that, like, in other words, does that signify that he's got to be on this roster because they don't have anybody else returning?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think they value punt return that much that they're going to turn down some kind of offer for Jalen Reagor that they would find acceptable just because they like him as a punt returner. Left tackle Andre Dillard, sure, we can have that discussion. Punt return, no, that's not going to interfere.
Is because is he the like the only guy right now though in that role?
No, I mean they've got other guys returning punts. Covey has been returning punts. Watkins and Covey have been returning kicks. I think there's somebody else who I'm just not thinking of at the moment who's been doing punt return. But I would think if Jalen Reagor is on the team, he is going to be your punt returner to start the season.
Oh, I would agree with that. It just it seems that there's not a lot of. Oh, Greg Ward is another guy. He's been hurt, right? Does he have a shot to make the? We were talking about this earlier. McMullen brought up Ward, and I said I haven't even heard his name. Does he have a shot to make the team?
Wait, which player are you asked? Say it one more time.
Greg Ward.
Oh, Ward. I can't imagine, Mike. I'm sort of surprised that they haven't come to an injury settlement with him at this point. I mean, he's missed a ton of time with that injury that he's got. And then you're just getting to the point and you're saying, well, how much, I mean, how is he making this team? There's 5 guys already ahead of him.
Well, that's what we were talking about was the return game and that they know that he can just catch a punt and that they don't really have a lot of other options back there. So that if Reagor ended up getting traded, that could be a way that Ward makes the team.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that he's a guy that they could bring back and him to return punts until there are kicks or something. No, it would be punts. Just elevate them until they get somebody else ready for that spot.
Yeah. All right, you're getting set to. So you're not going to the game Saturday.
I am not going to be at the game Saturday.
Well, lucky you, right? About 105 degrees down there, from what I understand.
Man, listen. This is how hot it is, Mike. Even the Miami beat reporters have come up to us guys here from Philly and Jersey and said, you know what? It's pretty hot, even for us. So that's how I knew. I'm like. Because I thought maybe we were all complaining a little bit too much like Northeasterners, but no, even the Miami guys are saying that it's been a little extra hot and humid.
All right, well, safe flight home on going to ACY.
You got it. No doubt about it.
Good stuff.
Quick and easy.
Yeah, in and out, baby, in and out. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4, Inside the Birds, new podcast out right now. Check it out with him and Adam. Andrew will be here tomorrow. We'll preview the Saturday game, see what Andrew's looking for. Geoff Mosher and the Inside the Birds podcast. A new one will drop Monday morning with the reaction, and then the 53 is going to have to be settled by Tuesday. We'll have all that next week on Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. All right, Moshe, thanks, buddy.